See all these sacrifices I make, it's for a reason. Get out what you put in, and I put my heart into everything I do. Every day, every second, I'm going hard. Still. See all these sacrifices I make, it's for a reason. Get out what you put in, and I put my heart into everything I do. All the hard work pays off. That's why I work hard, no days off. I'm only human, I make mistakes, but I keep it real. No, I'm never fake. This is what it takes to be great. Everything I make gon' be great. This is what it takes to be great. Everything I make gon' be great. All the hard work pays off. That's why I work hard. No days off. I'm only human. I make mistakes, but I keep it real. No, I'm never fake. This is what it takes to be great. Everything I make gon' be great. This is what it takes to be great. Everything I make gon' be great. All the hard work pays off. That's why I work hard. No days off. I'm only human. I make mistakes, but I keep it real. No, I'm never fake. This is what it takes to be great. Everything I make gon' be great. This is what it takes to be great. Everything I make gon' be great.
I'm ready to do it, I can't be afraid now. Put me on the stage now, I'm ready to rage now. I feel like an animal stuck in a cage and I'm ready to break out. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. This time, like the last time, you better get ready to race to the top. I'm ready to do this, show you what the truth is. I step on the field, it's time to get real, I'm feeling so ruthless. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Yeah. So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made of. Get in the game, your moment of fame, show them what you made of. It's time that we stand up, it's time that we man up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up. My time, nothing can keep me from reaching the top. This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to ride. I'm ready to throw down, it's time for the showdown. I'm ready to rise, don't be surprised, I'll take on the world now. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown, we know what it takes to be reaching the top. We're reaching the top, we're reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown, we know what it takes to be reaching the top. We're reaching the top, we're reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud.
This is virtual racing with real-life stakes.
Great drivers perform when the pressure is at its highest. And that's right here, right now.
I'll call this a 20-car pileup. I'll be good with that. As long as it put me in a checkered flag and victory lead.
It ain't a game now, me and you, we ain't the same now. Lions coming out to play now, opposition out the way now. Out of the way, you wasn't invited. Say you come to play, I dare you to try it. You don't wanna try me, then step up to my team. Yeah, out of the way, yeah, out of the way, yeah, out of the way.
The road to $300,000 returns to NASCAR's backyard for the longest race of the season. We're from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. We say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to round 7 of the 2020 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. This is the Coca-Cola 300. We're happy to have you strapped into the virtual seat and along for the ride with us tonight on the iRacing Esports Network and streaming live at eNASCAR.com, where alongside Tim Terry, my name is Evan Pasoko. And Tim, it's been a while since we've been on a track larger than a mile. We've seen Bristol, Richmond, Dover over the last 3 rounds, but tonight we return to the intermediates with a trip just outside of the Queen City.
And it's the longest race of the season, as you mentioned, Evan. We're going to go 300 miles here tonight, 200 laps around this racetrack. You're going to have to plan your strategy accordingly to get to the end. We're going to race from the daytime into the night. There's all kinds of excitement here, getting ready to go. It's Charlotte. How couldn't you be excited?
And of course, with this series beat off next week and through the Memorial Day weekend, iRacing wants to extend our thanks and appreciation to the members of our armed forces, to our active duty, reserve, and veterans. Thank you for your service. There's a live look in at the iRacing broadcast control room just outside of Boston, Massachusetts. But happy to as well welcome a special guest onto our pre-race coverage. This week, it is Greg Walter, the Executive Vice President of Charlotte Motor Speedway. Greg, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
With the return to racing, Charlotte Motor Speedway obviously has a busy few weeks ahead. How are those preparations going for everybody?
Really well. Actually, in spite of not having fans here, we're actually pretty excited about being one of the first races back live on television. I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but actually they're finishing painting the Coca-Cola 600 logo, and that should be done sometime tomorrow. So we're ready. We're getting ready. The team's excited about it. There's an immense responsibility to do this the right way, but that's kind of driving the team forward.
And you mentioned that Coke 600 amongst that return. It will look a little bit different, though, than in years past. What are some things that the Speedway and as well SMI are doing to keep energy levels high during one of the biggest races of our season?
Well, anytime we put on an event here, the team gets energized by that. I mean, we're in the event business, and even though we're kind of bittersweet that the fans won't be here, the fact that we're actually have this responsibility to be able to put on a live race safely with the entire NASCAR community is really energizing in and of itself. That the team is psyched, and then when we drop the green flag to get ready to go racing for the Coca-Cola 600, that'll be the big payoff.
And during this time of great uncertainty, Charlotte Motor Speedway has actually been supporting its local community by turning into a COVID-19 testing facility, which is so great. Could you tell the fans and viewers tuning in kind of how that came about and how CMS has been getting involved in the community?
Absolutely. The first week that we were out, Marcus Smith, our CEO, had a conference call with all the general managers and said, this time, now more than ever, we're to be involved in our community, figure out what we can do to serve our communities better. I mean, this track is celebrating its 60th anniversary. We've been serving the community since that time for 60 years. We reached out to Atrium Healthcare, which is our big hospital partner, one of the biggest in the Southeast, and asked them, what could we do? And they had an immediate need for some testing sites. We've offered them to be able to do mobile hospitals if that need ever arose. We actually had a couple of blood drives out here where we had a record number of people come out and donate blood, which is a desperate need, along with some food drives and other things. We're even going to host some high school graduations after the race weekend. So again, just whatever we can do to serve our community and kind of mitigate the hardships that are being put upon us by the pandemic.
And with the lack of actual cars on track, iRacing has played a crucial role for NASCAR fans throughout the last couple of weeks, and that continues with tonight's eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series race at the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. So I got to ask, what are your thoughts on the sim racing movement and what we've seen the last few weeks?
I've been so impressed. I knew about iRacing. We actually have a simulator up here in our offices, and it's a great way to kind of pass the time. But to see what the impact has had during this sports vacuum, if you will, right? The last 8 weeks where live sports haven't been on TV. What iRacing has done, what sim racing has done, has filled a void. I mean, you never would have imagined that 1 million people would watch a sim racing broadcast on national television. It's also allowed people to get a firsthand experience or firsthand view of what racing demands of an individual, and get someone like me, a normal guy, be able to race on any of the world iconic tracks, and particularly here, the Coca-Cola 600.
And you mentioned the fun thing is even I can jump out there onto the racetrack, but it is the sim racing pros who are up next. So we're going to let you go, Greg. We very much appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us. And, of course, we all look forward to tuning in to the Coca-Cola 600 Sunday, May the 24th, 6 p.m. on Fox.
Cheers, gentlemen. Be safe.
And now we welcome Tim Terry back into the conversation. And another big thanks right there, Greg Walter, the Executive VP of Charlotte Motor Speedway, for joining us, Tim. And just as it will be for the actual Coca-Cola 600, you can see that the sun is starting to kind of dip behind the grandstands here. It is just past 7 o'clock p.m. time in the sim, and that's going to play a factor on today's race.
Yeah, you look at these weather conditions now, Evan, they are going to change throughout the evening. The track temp is at 87 degrees, 86, just dropped 1 degree there. Temperature 79 ambient and 4-mile-an-hour wind, and it is definitely clear. And track temp just hopped up a little bit there after we closed off the final practice, and we're getting ready to go racing.
This track has been on the calendar every single season of this series, Tim, but we have never seen a repeat winner. What you got for us tonight with our iRacing Tim Facts?
Well, it's the Dirty Dozen, 12 races at Charlotte, including the Roval race that we just had. The Oval has had 11 different race winners. We could have a 12th here this evening. Feels like the first time. Charlotte has produced 3 first-time winners, including Joey Brown, Danny Hansen, and Nick Shelton. 3 past champions have won here before in the Queen City. 2 of those being Kenny Humpy and Ray Alfalo won the year after they won their championship. And play it back. We talked about it being the longest race of the season. We could very well see some pit strategy being played in here. You might have to play it back and play some strategy, gamble at the end to win this thing.
Qualifying took place earlier this evening. The warm-up is done. So let's give things over to tonight's Grand Marshal, First Sergeant Chris Barnhart of the North Carolina National Guard for the most famous words in motorsports.
Thanks to the USO, I am proud to be here representing the U.S. Army and the North Carolina National Guard, who are serving right now on the front line supporting COVID-19 efforts across the nation and here in North Carolina. As the Grand Marshal and a NASCAR fan, I could not be more excited to say, drivers, start your engines!
Big thanks to First Sergeant Chris Barnhart. We are set to do it from the virtual America's Home for Racing. All that's left is to go down trackside, turn up the music, and go racing for round 7. For the 9th time in his career, it is Keegan Leahy on pole position, a 27.970. Going to bring us to the green flag alongside the number 18 machine of Graham Bolin. Jarl T and Chris Shearburn, they're fast on a row 2 with Nathan Lyon, Tim, and Michael Guest, your top 6.
Your next row sees Blake Reynolds and Colin Keister. Row number 4, row number 5, Kane Cook and Bobby Zelensky. Zelensky won on the Oval the Roval the last time we were here. And Casey Kerwin and one fast number 53. Keep an eye on Ryan Luza.
Continuing on through the likes of Alex McCallum, Michael Conti, a top 8 playoff driver, Crowder, Lowe, Vincent through your top 18.
And continue to roll off. The pace car begins to roll off with our field. Guerrilla, Clampett, Santiago Tires was quick in practice. Phil Diaz, Christian Chalner, and look at the 2, Ray Alfalo in row 12.
The big names back here as well. The likes of Jimmy Mullis, Justin Bolton needing to pick up in their qualifying effort as we continue down to the likes of Sheehan and Cattell, these drivers near the rear.
Yeah, Davies, a former winner here, Brian Schoenberg, and Zach Novak won the championship last year. Continue the Tim Facts, continue the trends. He's going to have to dig deep here.
The longest race of this 2020 season. Tim, what is tonight's ACES race analysis?
Well, you look at the pit window, that is going to be big on fuel. These drivers don't have a whole lot of time together to really work in the draft, at least practice for this week. 60 to 65, you may be able to reach it to 70, but that's going to be on the outer reaches. Pit road speed 55 miles an hour, 200 laps, 300 miles, longest race of the season, and last year's winner is the guy going to lead them to green, Keegan Leahy.
Looking to become the first ever repeat winner here at Charlotte. So happy that you're spending your Tuesday night with us on the iRacing Sports Network, streaming live at eNASCAR.com. The iRacing official pace car going to dive to the safety of pit lane, and the field is in the hands of Keegan Leahy as we say, let's go racing from Charlotte. We're off and away for round 7. inside line early. The place to be as Keegan Leahy gets that first bonus point for the lap led. It is Leahy, Bolin, and Tien stretching things out early at the front of the field. Already some movers back in the pack. The likes of Bobby Zelensky 10th to 7th early. As with the sun setting, they race with the sun in their eyes into turn 4.
The biggest movement is one backward here, Evan. You talk about Keegan Leahy, the Denny Hamlin Racing driver. Casey Kerwin went through the grass here on the front straightaway, or the artificial turf on the front straightaway, and he's fallen from where he started in position 11 all the way back to position number 25. But we stay green through that one. Doesn't look like he has a whole lot of damage to that 23 car as he continues to dig. He's on the outside of Justin Bolton. There's another driver with his home track here this evening trying to make his way up through the pack.
And on the board with the 23 machine of Kerwin, you can see all the traffic in and around him. A battle in front of him sees Duval on the bottom, clearing the 4 of Santiago Tires, who had a good bit of speed earlier today in the practice and the qualifying session. But Casey kind of pinned up top there, nowhere to go. He's got Ottinger on the bumper. Again, this is outside of the top 20, some 4 seconds or so off the race lead.
Great little ride down the back straightaway. A little bit of a bumpy ride down the back as he chases down Tires, and to the inside he's got the 88 of Brad Davies, former winner here, Jimmy Mullis to the inside, and right behind him it's a 25 car that won it over a couple of weeks ago in Nick Ottinger. Back near the front of the field you see the 8 car of Michael Conti to the upside, the 36 of Chris Shearburn down low, and there's a guy in the 33 of Michael Guest. Has had a lot of speed in the opening races this season, Evan. He really hasn't had that top 5 finish to really close the deal and really cement that speed that he's had in all these rounds, but see what he can do here as the 33 car runs comfortably in the top 5.
He's doing a good job so far. You see dropping back a bit there with Shearbird on the outside. Number 36 machine started 4th. He's down to 8th as we have a challenge in the battle for the race lead. Bolin trying to get to the inside of Keegan Leahy. He got a nose down into 1. I thought it would have been a more convincing effort, but Keegan did not open up the door. You look off to the back of your race leader towards the Interstate Batteries Camry of Bolin. Bolin, somebody else, Tim, who has been oh so impressive, comes into tonight after gaining 6 spots in the points last round. He is 8th, which would be the playoff cut. Good showing for him.
Yeah, we're getting around that halfway point in points going towards the playoff cutoff. Pleasantly surprised with Graham Bolin the way he has run. You look back here, there's the 83 of Bobby Zelensky, the 36 of Shearburn. Kane Cook has had some speed in the last couple of rounds as well. He goes to the inside of Zelensky for that position. The 17, Colin Keister to the outside. Yellow flag, though, is on the speedway for the first time this evening.
The spinner down in 3 to 4, Phil Diaz, the number 75 Ford Mustang. That is the Mode Motorsports entry, and he may have had a bit of assistance as that incident happened down in turn 3 and 4 on what was lap number 7. So your race leaders had actually been able to stretch things out just a little bit, Tim, as they'll catch the pace car, but a quick yellow in this one. Last time we were here at the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway last season, of course, always the longest race of the calendar, running 50% of what you see in NASCAR Cup Series competition. The race had 7 caution flags for 28 laps. Also saw 8 different leaders amongst 23 lead changes, but an early yellow tonight.
I didn't really want to bring up that caution number, Evan, but the average caution count here is just under 8. So 7.8 is the average caution count here in the oval races as Keegan Leahy appears to be leading the field down onto pit road. This is going to be key here tonight as well. We mentioned in the race analysis that these guys can outer reach 70 laps if you throw in some cautions and you throw in a little bit of the pack racing and you save a little bit. 60 laps is probably the stretch you're going to go on a single car run and not really get any cautions in there. You look at this race being 200 laps. I don't see anybody going 2 stops. Obviously now this is going to help a little bit. If this was to go green, you're going to try to stretch it to go 2. You're probably not going to get there as we have 1 driver miss his box. That might be Dylan Duval in the 41. But it should be a 3-stop race. There's going to be a lot of strategy play out here over 200 laps.
And thought maybe for such a short run off at the top that this would have been an opportunity for some pit strategy. They are 3 wide off the pit lane behind, but the decision pretty universal at the front of the field of 4 tires in fuel as Keegan Leahy, Graham Bolin, and Jarl Tien stay first, second, and third. I believe the first driver to mix it up, the 37 of Christian Challoner, opted to go with right side tires only and that'll bump him up to position number 11 after starting 23rd.
And Dylan Duval out behind the pace car. We'll take a look at the replay here. We're going to see that 41 involved in this one, I believe, to bring out the first caution flag of the evening. He was racing with Phil Diaz. There's the 41 of Duval, the Haas Automation 41, the Mode Motorsports number 75 down the back straightaway. And Duval tries to make that move to the inside. It just gets tight down there, and Phil Diaz goes for a spin. Duval came in to the race at Dover a couple of weeks ago, I believe 38th in points, got that top 5 run, and when I talked to a couple of these drivers, a couple of these teams, I said, who's going to be the quicker race car? And, the common names came up, Evan, the Keegan Leahys, the Ryan Luzas, heard Garrett Lowe's name come up in conversation, but I also heard Dylan Duval, and when I asked Dylan Duval about his speed, he kind of said, I think we're okay. I don't think we're the winning race car right now, but if everything plays out, I think we're going to be okay. So the only downside now is this field doubles up and gets ready to go back to green. Dylan Duval is going to start scratch by the looks of it as he's down on pit road getting service on his race car.
Yeah, he is going to get back out there, so he'll even be behind the likes of Diaz, who was down at the pit lane for some damage repairs on that caution flag cycle. You can see the lights out on top of the iRacing.com official pace car. Leahy deciding to maintain the inside line for this restart. And Michael Conti, we talk about drivers mix it up on strategy. Tim, he opted to go for 4 just like everybody else, but on a short run, he's gone 15th to 5th. A very convincing start for the Junior Motorsports Chevy.
Yeah, and you look at Jarl T and Nathan Lyon, row number 2. They have something to prove here as well as we get ready to work through 3 and 4 and bring it back to green with Keegan Leahy and Graham Boland. We'll see if Graham Boland goes to look for the lead again like we saw just prior to that caution flag.
He's going to be in a good position. The restart can be crucial. Of course, restart procedure a little bit different this time through as we'll ride on board with Davies from 23rd in the Hornet's Nest. But up front, Leahy dictates when this one starts. Green flag flies. We're back at it with 10 laps in the book. You can see all of that chaos back in the pack as we rode on board with the Brad Davies. That's one of 5 different drivers that we are riding on board with this evening. We'll be taking a look on board with all of them as this night goes on. But, your race leader is able to get some separation. I see the 66 of Tien stuck up on the outside, just a little bit up the road. Conti's able to get on by. Nathan Lyon does the same. Just a bit of shuffling on the backstretch, but the next closest battle, Kane Cook side by side with Shearburn.
Shearburn to the upside, Kane Cook, Bobby Zielinski down to the inside, Christian Chalner, Alex McCallum, great qualifying run for 54 as well on that inside line, trying to get by the number 36 car, the Track Pass Racing Jobs number 36. He's stuck to that outside line right now, and that is the closest side-by-side battle to the front. And as I say that, I think Mike Conti is on the move one more time. He picks up position number 2. Graham Boland falls back to position number 3 and might fall one more as you ride on board with Graham Boland currently in position number 3. And you can look on that side mirror, Evan. You've got that 6 car filling it up.
So as the 6 continues to try to close in on him, you're going to notice Conti get further and further away out the front windshield. Mike Conti was 4th best in the practice session, but qualified down at 15th. Obviously feels like he missed the mark, and I got a feeling he'll be challenging with Keegan Leahy for the race lead here shortly. Lyon, as we talked about, that's the 6 car P4. Tien is 5th. His G2 Esports teammate up top of Alex McCallum. So the G2 cars with a good showing early in this one, as it looks like Cook can't hold the bottom, and McCallum will maintain about P8 or so. And in turn number 2 as we continue to watch the top 3 try to track down that 32 car.
And Alex Mccallum, one of those drivers familiar with Charlotte Motor Speedway, but maybe not with the 1.5 mile oval, familiar with the summer shootout, the quarter mile that's run here on the front straightaway, doing some legend car racing as you ride on board with Alex Mccallum. He's got some traffic to contend with, but this is the second week in a row. I believe he's had a little bit of speed in qualifying, just trying to close the deal at the end. This is a long race, 200 laps, a lot can happen. As you take a look at Michael Guest directly ahead of him, what a run down into corner number 3, nowhere to put it. He'll come up off of corner number 4, P7, and you mentioned his teammate up there as well, too. G2 drivers up in the top 7 as we complete lap number 17.
And Zelensky's still peeking to the outside for the first time in quite some time. Bobby Zelensky, not your points leader headed into this evening. That goes to Ryan Luza, even though that 3-week win streak was snapped by Nick Ottinger the last time out for the Monster Mile. Bobby finished down in the 30s, but only fell to second. He trails Luza in the points by 13 as they sit 1-2, and they're both kind of back at the same part as there's some 3 wide across the start-finish line. Luza, Mccallum, and Cook. It's just to the right-hand side of this group. You can see it there now in the center of 1 and 2. Now the Samba Colin Keister joining the party. They're going to use every single inch of that back straightaway to make it happen, and Luza, the big winner of it all.
Alex Mccallum gets out of the center, but now he's up to the outside line. He's got Shearburn closing in on him, and right behind him is Malik Gray. Evan, we had the iRacing Indianapolis 500 earlier this week, back on the weekend. Malik Gray was a winner in one of those events. You better believe he has momentum going in to this evening's race, and right now running just outside the top 10, sitting in position number 13, chasing down some of these drivers. Here comes Conti, though. Conti to the inside, taking a look for the lead position on Keegan Leahy. We could have our first lead change here, 20 laps in, and it's Michael Conti to the top of the board.
Didn't stand a chance. Conti got on the bottom. Leahy held the top side, and it's Michael Conti to the race lead. And lap number 21, but it is not done for the 32. Here comes Graham Bolin. He'll try to work his way through, and this is where things can get dicey for Keegan up top, because if you can't find a spot in line, then you can see the 18, the 6, the 99, and other drivers all cycle their way through. Bolin wins out in that fight for second. Let's go on board with Logan Clampett, the number 99 car, scored P15. And that battle that we're watching, Tim, amongst teammates, the two Burton Kligerman Esports drivers and Logan Clampett and Ashton Crowder were side by side with each other. They have the hashtag thanks to truckers on board their cars this week, thanking all of those essential workers who are continuing to keep things moving during this shutdown. As we look further up the field, you can see RLTN just ahead of a battle as he tries to get up to Nathan Lyon that we see between Guest and Zelensky behind. But Nathan Lyon, Tim, finished second here in the Pro Series last fall, the series to qualify in to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, and he is showing that Charlotte speed, but he's under fire right now. He's up on the bumper. Keegan Leahy looking to the inside into turn 3.
Leahy goes to the upside. The 6 flashes the nose of that 4 to the inside, looking for a third-place battle here. Jarl Tian right behind them. Great qualifying efforts for both Lyon and Tian as they chase down Keegan Leahy and try to move a little bit further up into the top 5. Both started in the top 5, both currently run in the top 5. Michael Conti, one of the biggest movers, at least in the top 20 or so, Evan. He started 15th, up to the lead. Graham Bolin continues to chase him down, and it looks like these drivers can tend to ride a little bit here. This is a long race. This is a 200-lap affair. So these drivers right now, at least in the top 10 or so for side-by-side battle, appears to be around Malik Ray. These drivers have found a rhythm right now.
And it is not the same challenge as running 600 miles in the Coke 600, but of course is Coca-Cola 300, the longest one of the year, Tim. And, we'll kind of stick with this intermediate track theme. 2 weeks' time at Atlanta for 167 laps. So this race is about 33 laps longer than most of the ones at the 1.5-mile racetracks that we see this year. So that does, I think, as you mentioned, have a big effect really on how strategy plays out. Should this thing keep going green? Egan Leahy getting tracked down now by Nathan Lyon. Here in the long run. Let's go on board with him. I'm kind of curious as well. As we jumped onto board with him, I saw him crack a smile. I don't know if he's got the TV stream up and saw himself, or if he's just having a lot of fun out there.
Almost a little bit of a pucker moment, too, when he got to Graham Boland trying to make that move. Got a little tight off of turn 2, but picked up that position. And we've seen Keegan have those long runs. So fell back early in this run, yes, but he may be anticipating that 60, 65-lap run to go towards a pit stop, as you see the 83 of Bobby Zielinski battling with the 17 of Colin Keister. There's the 53 of Ryan Luza there as well. This battle just outside the top 5, inside the top 10 as they go down the back straightaway. That VRS number 83 looks to get one more spot.
He wants that one more. He has been working his way forwards and had actually passed up Keister for this spot, but this is kind of a fight back on behalf of the number 17 Fifth Third Bank Ford Mustang, as Keister does not want to roll over and give this one up. So Zielinski going to continue to work on the bottom, as there's a couple of fast cars behind these two. Don't look out yet, but Logan Clampett 20th to 10th, just behind Ryan Luza. In fact, passing Luza. So they'll swap Clampett to 9, Luza to 10. Both of those drivers in the green on the doorstep now, as Keister actually wins out in that fight with Zielinski, and he looks now to the bottom. 33 of Michael Guest.
Quickly to the attack goes at number 17 of Keister as he goes to the inside, as the 83 of Bobby Zielinski looks on behind, little sideways for that 17. You don't want to grab that apron to the inside, and it looks like the might have a little bit of action in behind us as well, Evan, as you see Zach Novak. This is a replay. Keep an eye on Brian Schoenberg in the 79 Clint Boyer racing car. He's to the outside. Oh, hello, little sideways, and oh, that's not good. Little contact there. It's going to be a lot of damage, and Zach Novak's going to have to make sure that that thing doesn't overheat here in the next couple laps.
That's going to be a concern. Obviously, this race going off and into the night, temperature is going to be coming down, may help that in the slightest, but one thing you do not want is front-end damage early in a race, so those temps can get onto manageable pretty quickly, and even if you do break down to the pit lane for repairs. And talking about drivers with the issues, there he is, the Donnie car on pit road. Zach Novak, Tim, had an abysmal P39 qualifying effort. Not how he wanted his night to start, but rather how he's wanted it to go, as we watch this battle from the 23 car on back.
Yeah, and his Richmond Racemate Esports teammate is in here, Jimmy Mullis in the 46. Got to catch up with them a little bit earlier on today to see how the work was going on for Charlotte, and they had said they haven't done a whole lot of drafting practice or traffic practice, so they weren't sure how this race was going to play out, not sure how the pit strategy was going to play. Obviously, that wasn't what Zach Novak had planned here this evening. They weren't sure how they were on speed, but they had a little bit of confidence going in to this evening. Zach Novak, reigning champion, looking to grab a win at Charlotte, looking to become another different winner, add their name to the win list. But right now, Zach Novak's going to have to dig and hope for a little bit on his side after that green flag pit stop. Jimmy Mullis is going to have to work his way up here as it's got back to single file racing after a couple of side-by-side battles. The 42 on the upside, Bob Bryant trying to battle with John Gorlinski. Those are two drivers that have been a part of sim racing for a long while. Great to see. And we're going to ride on board here with Michael Guest as he runs down the back straightaway in the Coca-Cola onboard.
That was Keister going to the inside of that exchange as well, watching out Bobby Zelensky inside on the RLT, and he almost got him, but a little bit squirrely that time at turn 4. Here comes an assist, though, in the 50 through of Lusa. He'll push him on through, and now at the very front of the field, the battle is on as it is Michael Conti in the 15 car getting reeled back in by Leahy. So that 32, he thought Tim maybe got passed up, struggled a bit on this run, fell to third. He's back up to P2, and he is keeping that WR1 Sim Chassis Chevy pretty honest.
Off the top of the show in the Tim Facts, we discussed playing it back and trying to play your pit strategy right. We're about halfway through this run. We went green about lap 10 or so as we ride on board with Keegan Leahy. We're about 30 laps into this run, Evan. We're about halfway through what a fuel run would be, or where these guys would probably come down 60 laps or so into a run. Keegan Leahy fell off a little bit, but he might have been saving a little bit because now he is reeled back in that WR1 Sim Chassis number 8. And look at Conti, skates it up the racetrack a little bit. Keegan Leahy looked a little solid, talking to his crew as he gets that run down the double dog leg into corner number 1. Keegan Leahy looking smooth here as he drives it down into 1.
I think that crew aspect of this series is one of the biggest things that maybe a casual observer or somebody not that familiar with sim racing just won't know, is the fact that not only are these drivers racing from varying sim rigs at their home, but oftentimes they can have as many as half a dozen people on the radio with them at any given time in a race. Crew chief, spotter, lots of people talking things through, letting them know what's going on with the other cars on track, just like you would see in a real-life NASCAR race over a race weekend. And while, yes, Leahy is keeping Conti honest up front, they have checked way out from everybody else. They're about 1.5 seconds ahead of the next car in third, and they're 3.5 seconds ahead of that battle for position 11 as Davies has creeped up ahead of it a little bit, side by side. It is Guest and the 21 of Garrett Lowe. Some special colors on that ride spin Ford this week.
And there's a name we haven't talked about a whole lot this evening, but that was a name that was thrown around when we talked to some drivers about potential favorites for this one. Brad Davies in front of him. He's a former winner here, won the race back in 2010 as he takes a dive down to the inside of the 77 of Ashton Crowder. There's a little bit of a battle throughout this field. There's Garrett Lowe on your screen. He is going to be solid tonight. It's a long race. This racetrack continues to transition from day to night. We're far from over here. Garrett Lowe is going to be up near the front before this thing is all said and done, but riding right now a little ways back and still trying to pick off a couple of spots as he looks up at Crowder.
You're currently working lap number 44 of 200 in this one. These drivers at about a 35-lap run, so 35 laps on the tires, probably 33 or so since we actually went back to green flag conditions, and you can see your top two pulling way ahead of everybody else. The good news is all 40 cars who started this race still in. The only driver a lap down is Novak. He's down a single lap courtesy of that damage and contact with Schoenberg. Of course, full running order at the top of your screen. And this group on back, the 17 of Keister, one of the drivers who's been working hard. He's up at the back of the 6th and 8th in line, and the group in front of those two is very compelling. Zelensky, Bolin, Clampett, Luza, 3rd through 6th. Zelensky just passing Bolin for P3 at a race high spot, and now here comes Clampett for more.
And those Roush Fenway drivers, two teammates battling there, and they are within the top 10, currently 7th and 8th respectively, just ahead. Graham Bolin has that nose and that whole car now to the inside of the 53 of Ryan Luza. Luza trying to get back up to the front of the field. Familiar spot, but hasn't won here before, Evan. Looking to become that 12th different driver to win here at the Oval at Charlotte. 13th different driver. You include that Roval race that we had last year with Bobby Zelensky. So Luza, he's quick. He's got that Williams eSports car hooked up and well within the top 5 right now. Currently sitting position number 5, trying to chase down a couple of drivers ahead of him.
Yeah, Bolin looking to the inside in this group, but as we close in on a quarter distance from Charlotte Motor Speedway, it is Michael Conti out in front, the longest race of the season. You're watching the 2020 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series from Charlotte.
I am the force behind the brave men and women who love this country so dearly, they go into harm's way to defend it.
For those serving far from home, I am the force that makes sure home has their back.
I am the force behind all who serve, connecting them to every comfort of family, home, and country possible.
We are the force.
We are the force.
We are the force behind the forces.
Visit uso.org/force to learn how you can be the force behind the forces.
I am the force behind the
Coca-Cola
brave men
is proud to support America's frontline heroes and their families, especially the men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation. While we can't be together to celebrate together, we can honor America's servicemen and servicewomen. Coca-Cola, along with its partners, the USO and the American Red Cross, salutes America's frontline heroes in the fight against COVID-19. They are proud to donate $500,000 from 20-ounce Coca-Cola purchases to the USO and the American Red Cross to support frontline heroes battling COVID-19. And back live here for the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. Didn't miss a thing on iRacing nonstop. Michael Conti still your race leader, working lap number 53 of 200 in round number 7 of 2020. The gap between those top two and everybody else, Tim Terry, continues to grow as we welcome everybody back up and into the broadcast booth. Tim Terry, myself, Evan Pasoko, along with our team at the iRacing Broadcast Center and just outside of Boston, Massachusetts. And a good race so far, Tim. That early yellow in the opening 10 laps, but since then, these drivers able to stretch their legs out.
Yeah, we're getting closer, about 20 laps or so, maybe less from green flag pit stops, as we expect these drivers probably down around the 70 mark, if not a little bit prior. There is the 24 on your screen. That is Jake Nichols. We're going to have a little bit of an onboard shot here as he is in the midst of this as he comes out of corner number 4. Look at that side-by-side battle in front of him.
Well, that put you right in the driver's seat with him, as now the fight is on in the battle for position number 6. That is Zelensky on the outside, Bolin onto the bottom. The 18 machine has been kind of fighting his way back up through the field here, side by side with the 83. A little bit close that time as look, some pit stops. The 5 down pit road. That's Matt Busa. Early pit stop going to put him down a lap as your race leaders keep going at it.
If you're not in a position up here in the top 10, Evan, I think you kind of have to undercut it just a little bit to try to gain a little bit of track position and maybe hope that a caution flag comes out in the midst of a green flag run. But it's difficult to get down here onto pit road, and here comes Conti down onto pit road ahead of your field, so your leader's going to come down to pit road to get service on his race car. It's difficult here, especially with these drivers saying they didn't have a whole lot of time to practice in traffic. This is going to be difficult for some of these guys mid-pack, especially with everybody around them. There's the WR1 Sim chassis number 8 down to the attention of his crew.
Of course, anytime we got green flag stops, as you can see, the Valvoline Toyota in from behind as well of Ashton Crowder. You can make up tons of time getting in and getting out of the pit lane under green flag conditions, Tim. But these drivers almost right on the money, about 50 laps since they were last down to the pit lane. And this race inside of 150 to go would kind of lead us to think that from this point on, it would be a 3-stopper if they continue at this rate.
It would almost have to be at this point, Evan, to at least make it a little bit comfortable. If they stay green flag racing, a caution flag could change the strategy and the complexion of what these drivers do, as Leahy will come up at corner number 4 this time and stay on the racetrack. And look who's behind him. Ryan Luza has closed in. Colin Keister's had a great run so far as well, solidly up in the top 5 as you see Logan Clampett come off a pit road in the 99 Burton Kligerman eSports car. But we've got some drivers up here, even prior to pit stops, that have had a great opening stage to this event, and for 60 laps completed here as Keegan Leahy continues to lead this one. And there's the 4 of Santi Tierrez down on pit road. He's got a little bit of damage to the rear end.
You see that with a couple of the drivers that we've rode on board with that, we haven't had obviously any major incidents. I think just that Novak contact that didn't bring out a yellow could kind of fall into that category. But cars here and there with some bumps and some scrapes is obviously trying to survive through a long one. But look at the left-hand side. The thing that I'm looking at, Tim, not the fact that, of course, all these cars came down to the pit lane at the lap number 9 yellow and pit lane opened, but Ryan Luza. We were just talking about how your top 2 had checked out from everybody else. I blink, and Ryan Luza's within 4/10 of the race lead as there's a battle with Bobby Zelensky. He's going to go up to the outside as Davies and Vincent go on through on the bottom. Bobby here getting swarmed, teeing now to his inside.
We caught that little bit of contact as they went up the racetrack. The 27 of Vincent, the 83 of Zelensky. That could have been a lot bigger than it was, Evan. Going to lose a couple of positions, both of them. Brad Davies squirts by in the number 88. Cory Vincent back in behind him, and now Jarl Tien moves to the inside, and there is that 53 of Ryan Luza. You talked about it. If I'm the field, I'm kind of concerned with the way he has speed on this long run. Obviously, the short run, we saw the qualifying effort, not as good as what we're used to seeing out of the 53 camp. But if I'm the field, I'm a little bit concerned right now. Keegan Leahy has some speed. The 8 car of Michael Conti's right on board. Fresh tires, coming through. He's got some speed. But Ryan Luza definitely showing at the end of this run that he's got something for these front runners.
What a look on board as he was snaking high, snaking low, now to the outside of his teammate, Brad Davies. Conti currently running 1 lap down in 32nd, but on the fresh rubber. And, just for comparison's sake, the last lap by that number 8 machine of Michael Conti was a 29.0. Last lap for your race leader, a 30.8. So a significant difference, fresh tires versus old. Seeing those Burton Kligerman teammates continue to work through the field together. That's Logan Clampett, Ashton Crowder. They have both pitted. They are racing 1 lap down right now. The likes of Bolin and Kerwin holding the bottom. Cars on the lead lap. Who still yet to come to pit road. But Ryan Luza, knock. He is on the bumper in the battle for the race lead. Leahy going to be under fire here next lap.
And they're going to have Michael Conti up here trying to get by them on fresh tires as the 32 and 53. Are they coming down to pit road? Nope, they're going to let the 8 car go on the outside line. But now Ryan Luza goes under the attack to the inside of Keegan Leahy for the top spot. They're side by side down into corner number 1. And as they battle, it's got Colin Keister closing in. And look at the Burton Kligerman Esports cars. They're side by side on fresh tires.
Yeah, still trying to get through traffic on the old rubber. 1 lap down. Ryan Luza, for the first time tonight, goes to the race lead. You're on board with, that is Leahy behind Luza, as the sun is now almost completely behind the grandstands in turn 4. And I expect that number 53 to run away, Tim. No, he could not go for history. He did not get a 4th straight win in a row. That would have been an all-time best. That streak of 3 was cut by Nick Ottinger. However, Ryan Luza has a winning percentage of 28%. That is best in series history by a long shot. Next closest, Kenny Humpy at 15%. So Luza real good. Nothing's to say he can't go for another one tonight.
He's trying to extend that win list of different winners here at Charlotte, though, at the Oval to 12. He hasn't won here yet, looking to do that. You said he might run away. We see these drivers on fresh tires. I don't think he's going to run away very far because these drivers should be down on pit road, Evan. I would say within the next 5 laps or so to get into that 60-lap mark for window for fuel. As you see a couple of more drivers on fresh rubber. There's the 42 of Bryant, the 99 of Clampett. There's Crowder. And look at Colin Keister. Keister looking for a 2nd place run here as he dives that nose of the Ford to the inside of Keegan Leahy. Can't do it through the first half of the dogleg. He'll try again here down into 1.
And you mentioned the artificial turf on the front stretch here. It's a little bit more forgiving than the older scans of Charlotte, of course, where it was actual grass in that quad oval. And I've seen drivers dipping the left side tires down in just a bit. Keister was close that time. On the inside of the number 32, Michigan Leahy, he makes the pass for position number 2. But when the first kind of group of cars that came down to the pit lane, it was about 50 laps into a run. Tim thought just inside of 150 to go as Ray Alfala is in the box. That's an indication of a 3-stop strategy. But I mean, the cars up front now have been running for 61 laps. They may be opting to go for 2 instead.
Yeah, if you can go a 70-lap run or so, and that's the outer reaches, from what I was talking to some of these drivers on the fuel, as we come out of corner number 4, we see if any of these leaders decide to dip down onto pit road. Graham Boland now on the back bumper of that number 32 car of Keegan Leahy. If you do that, you could very well stretch it a little bit and try to make it a 2-stop race. Most of the drivers that I spoke with said it would be a 3-stop race. I don't think that 10-lap caution would change that at the front, but you never know. This race tends to bring some strategy into it, tends to bring some late race cautions into it as well, as Chris Overland brings that spin. Number 16 down, unlocks it up, coming down to the pit box. But I don't think that would change it a whole lot, but it looks like some of these may be opting for the 2-stop strategy. Graham Boland to the inside as he looks for 3rd.
The lead car in this pit delta is Michael Conti down in 25th spot, so still a majority of the field actually not yet having pitted. As you see the one of Steve Sheehan, bottom right, his service is complete. Obviously the call here for 4 tires and fuel to cycle things back up. And I love when that strategy element comes into play. The 54 down, the next driver down to the pit lane, that is Alex Mccallum. He had been a top 10 car, kind of right on that bubble of the top 10 for a majority of the night. He is in for service. And of course, the trade-off for the cars still out here on the old tires is, yes, they are going to be slower than those who already pitted. Michael Conti, if this cycles through, will be way ahead of Ryan Luza and friends, but they're hoping that the time they're sacrificing now can be made up if they are indeed on a 2-stop strategy by taking an entire pit stop out of that regimen. So we'll see how this plays out. The 17 of Keister, though, he's in from 2nd, locking it up on the brakes. Pit road speed here at Charlotte, 45.
So the 17 comes down onto pit road. The leaders continue to stay out on the racetrack. The 32 was just passed by the 21 of Garrett Lowe, and that was for position. Move Garrett Lowe up to 3rd as Matt Busa takes a look to the inside. Busa would be a lapped vehicle, and the teammate to this gentleman right here, and Ryan Luza, as he works through corners number 3 and 4, and he's going to stay out on the racetrack and complete lap number 74 on the racing surface. And you can see Conti at the bottom of that scoring pylon. He is now sitting in 16th place as Brad Davies, his teammate, comes down onto pit road.
He's in, of course, we mentioned off at the top, Jeter Motorsports with a real good showing in the points. The only team to have both of their drivers top 8 in an active playoff spot. You see the 23 machine now of Casey Kerwin into the box for service. Still waiting on that 53 car of Luza to come into pit road. Next car to pass him would be Nick Ottinger, your race winner from Dover. Tim, who, of course, not only got the important points as well as the cash payouts that are available to your top finishers in every single one of these eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series races. He also got a mini replica trophy, the Miles the Monster trophy from Dover. Real cool.
Yeah, that was pretty neat as the 83 of Zielinski down on pit road, the 6 of Nathan Lyon, and I believe our leader may be heading down this time. Yes, he is. Ryan Luza going to head down to pit road. He's going to be joined by Garrett Lowe. Look at Garrett Lowe, really aggressive on the pit entry, and he might inch out ahead of Ryan Luza here. We're going to have a drag race down onto pit road. The drag strip's across the road. It's not here at the Oval, but looks like we're going to have ourselves a little bit of a race as Garrett Lowe will throw that one onto pit road.
Garrett Lowe took advantage of clean racetrack behind them. Luza went onto the apron before he really started to check things up. Lowe actually stayed on the banking for a little bit longer, and that's how he passed him into the pit lane. But look at this anarchy on the back straightaway. The 14 machine of Brandon Cattell. That's your race leader, but it looks like a car way off the pace. That's because those old tires not jiving well for the car who started 34th. He is now down pit road this time. And by the way, Luza better in the pit stalls, is able to stay ahead of that challenge by Garrett Lowe. They are on the apron. You'll see them blended back up in 1 and 2, and you will see the 8 car of Michael Conti way out in front as he will cycle now ahead in this big exchange.
And now you look at those drivers that have come down pit road where they have been at Michael Conti, closer to the 50-55 lap mark on a pit stop. So you would have to believe, Evan, that he's on the 3-stop strategy. These drivers that just came down pit road, they went about 70 laps or so. You add another 70 or so, it's about 140 or so for your next pit stop. So they would almost be on the 2-stop strategy. We've seen these play out before. Some of them good, some of them bad. I know Michael Conti has the likes of Brandon Hastings sitting on the pit box. He's got a couple of drivers with new tires passing, Bobby Zielinski, Nathan Lyon, and here comes Chalmer.
And there's one driver in the back straightaway, the 42 car. That is Bob Bryant. He's up to the number 4 position. Last pit stop at lap number 54. So, kind of in this whole exchange, he was at that very beginning. He actually, the first car to come down to the pit lane, about 3 or 4 laps ahead of the likes of Conti, Clampett, and Crowder, who outrun him on the racetrack, with a big benefit to the 42 by short pitting, because he started P36. There's Cattell around the outside as he races off to turn 3, working lap 80.
And we'll talk about Ray Alfala here in the number 2 car, the VRS car. We mentioned a couple of weeks ago where he qualified up front and really didn't have that short run speed, kind of fell through the field like an anchor. Started about mid-pack here this evening, and now he's currently up in position number 5. He's won here before, looking to turn around his season. He's kind of around that bubble, that top 20 bubble in points. We're about halfway through going towards the playoffs, Evan. You don't really want to talk about points in the first half of the season, but I'm sure Ray Alfala has that on his mind. Keep in mind, he was relegated back to the Pro Series last year. Doesn't want that to happen again. A good run here would give him a little cushion.
He's in a 3-way tie for 14th in the points with Matt Bussa and Blake Reynolds, 23 points out of a playoff spot. And yes, a win today at Charlotte would help, but again, unlike the NASCAR Cup Series, there is no win and you're in. It comes down to points, and this regular season, which spans 16 weeks, you mentioned, just about halfway through. Good opportunity after next week in Atlanta to kind of reset and go back at it. And we've seen a couple of team duos so far tonight, and there's another one, the number 9 machine of Eric J. Smith, chased down by Michael Guerrilla in the 15. Those are the 2 Jim Beaver Esports cars. And Tim, we talked a lot about the teams making moves over the offseason. This team, exactly how it looked in 2019. And you can see the 17 of Colin Keister. He is in the number 5 position on the racetrack, Tim, and obviously in a different position from everybody else because he came down to the pit lane just 10 laps ago. So 11 seconds off of Michael Conti, but the fastest car on track.
Yeah, and currently running in that 5th place position. He'll be able to get up there. We believe Michael Conti is on a 3-stop strategy or a little different pit strategy than this 17 car is, so he would necessarily be the net leader when all this cycles through, or the pit stops start to cycle one more time as he comes up at a corner number 4 and crosses the line to complete another lap. We're working lap number 86 as Michael Conti works down the back straightaway. He's got about a 3.5-second lead or so on Logan Clampett, Ashton Crowder. We mentioned teammates. Burton Kligerman Esports currently 2 of the top 3, but they want to get that lead position. We'll see how that works out as the Valvoline number 99 works around this Charlotte Motor Speedway.
And you talk about the 2 versus the 3-stop. It appears that that strategy that Keister is leading in 5th is kind of the more popular decision. The drivers who pitted sooner and we think on a 3-stop strategy are Michael Conti, Logan Clampett, Ashton Crowder, Bob Bryant, they're 1, 2, 3, 4, and then Matt Busa in P15. So it is a big difference top through. One of the drivers on the fresh rubber is Casey Kerwin. You're in the driver's seat of the 23. As the battles through the field continue, there's a look at the number 8 machine of Michael Conti. He is your race leader. He's about 31 laps into this run, Tim, if we're to believe that 50 is the number. Kind of funny that we're almost through this run. You did see, although, on board there with Casey Kerwin, that car having a minor technical issue on his end. Trying to make sure, of course, that the internet is up to snuff. And Tim, one of the things about sim racing is one of the biggest things that's out of your control is a constant internet connection. And of course, all these drivers racing from across the United States and across the globe, a big part of being able to compete at this highest level.
For those drivers that race in the real world, it would almost be like, hitting the kill switch. And I mean, you could do that in the virtual car as well. You can hit the button and accidentally turn off the race car. But to keep that car running, I think that's the best analogy that we can use, Evan. And right now, Casey Kerwin has probably experienced more than anybody here this evening. Went through that slide in the opening laps of the race, had to claw his way back. And he's had his hands completely full this evening. As you see the 17 of Colin Keister on your screen, Ashton Crowder right ahead. So this would be a battle for position number 3. In behind would be Bob Bryant, the next car for position, as the battle for 3rd continues on, the 17 to the upside.
And he's going to go a high side around the 77 of Crowder. So Keister now into position number 3. He continues to be one of the best cars on the racetrack by about a half a second over the cars 1, 2. He's about 7 seconds off the Conti and Clampett, so in about 20 laps or so, he may close in as you're on board now with Malik Ray. Talked about that win in the iRacing Indianapolis 500, and I saw him saying on the Twitter that was a big win, that he got checked off the bucket list, that he said yes, but there is one that he still needs in his virtual trophy cabinet, and that is this one here in the Coke Series as you're on board with his Rowdy Energy Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. Well, Tim, we've mentioned the points, some drivers in, some drivers out of the top 8, and one of the drivers who I think did not expect to see himself on the outside looking in is that 90 of Zach Novak. And totally ignore the fact that he's running in 38th position tonight, and this is probably going to be a big hit in the points. But already coming into this evening, Tim, he dropped 3 spots at it over. He's 13th in the points. Not the start to 2020 that your 2019 champion wanted or thought that I think he was going to have.
It's not hit the panic button moment, but it's kind of hover your hand around that panic button as he goes to the outside of Garrett Lowe. Had a dismal qualifying effort, actually half spun out on his qualifying effort, didn't get the lap that he wanted, started 39th, had that run-in with Brian Schoenberg earlier, and now just trying to make up for lost time, and there's not really a whole lot that he can do, especially under the green flag, because everybody is still running in this race. Nobody's really dropped out of the running order, so Zach is kind of holding on for dear life here in the Sunoco number 90. I know the team chemistry between himself and Jimmy Mullis, they've worked together for a couple of years on setup and all that other stuff. So the team chemistry there is probably the best for the Richmond Raceway esports cars. They just need one other thing that seems to come along with this stock car racing game, and that's luck. You can be as prepared as you want to. You need a little bit of luck on your side, too, in order to make everything happen.
And it was a big move for Novak from Roush over to Richmond Raceway Sports. Speaking of which, let's go on board with Colin Keister, because Roush Fenway Racing with an all-new driver lineup for this year. It includes Nathan Lyon and the rookie that you ride on board with right now on the fresh rubber. Keister within 2 seconds of Logan Clampett in an eventual battle for second. Again, the 17, the lead car on what we're calling the 2-stop strategy. He's got the better rubber in that exchange by about 15 or 16 laps.
Yeah, it looks like he's got the advantage of those drivers that may be going for the 2-stop strategy. And here's another battle on your screen. That is the 53 of Brian losing the 77 of Ashton Crowder. That's for position number 6. And Ed Graham Bolin in the mix. That is your top 5. Bob Bryant right in behind them. That is a lead lap car, a car for position. So Ryan Luza started to make his way up towards the front of the field. We saw the long run really pay off, and it was really strong at the very end of that run prior to him hitting pit road. So the 53 car has a little bit of work to do. You can see he's 8 seconds behind, but he's got a little bit of strategy on his side as he works down the back straightaway.
And still real tough for us to be in a position to outline, is the 2-stop strategy going to be the better one? Is the 3-stop strategy going to be superior? Of course, all these drivers in a position to win on any given or any single given race weekend. Let's go on board with Cory Vincent right now, the driver for the Renegades at Louisville, Kentucky. He finds himself kind of back in the fray, coming out of turn number 2, and of course, we talk about drivers who have been able to find success. Tim, it's awfully hard to win at this very top level of sim racing competition. We have seen Cory Vincent do so, race winner from Indianapolis last year.
Yeah, we saw Cory Vincent pick up a couple of wins. And, you know, this racetrack, Charlotte Motor Speedway, has given us some first-time winners we talked about off the top of the show, but also some drivers that have only won a couple of races in this series, some different winners. You look back to Alex Warren, who won a couple of races here in New Hampshire. I know Danny Hansen's watching our show this evening, so I want to say hello to Danny Hansen, was a winner here back in 2014. Nick Shelton, Joey Brown, among those names that have won here before. So this is almost an opportunity racetrack, it seems like, for this series to present us with new winners and maybe winners that haven't won in a long while. And I look at this guy right here who's really impressed this evening. Colin Keister could add his name to the list and add his name as a first-time winner here. He's closing in on those top 2. There's that battle for position number 2 on your screen.
That last lap for the 99 of Clampett, I should say, a 36.79 for Keister, a .397. So his advantage is no longer the half a second it used to be each lap, as those tires do start to fall away. But he is still significantly faster in the lead car in this battle. Brad Davies, by the way, Graham Bolin, Ryan Luza, all behind him in the running order through 4, 5, and 6. Same cars as Clampett down pit road. The last time he was in was 44 laps in, and just past halfway, he's in for service.
So this is going to start changing the pit strategy a little bit. We'll keep an eye on Michael Conti on the 8 as he runs down the back straightaway. It's about 4 seconds or so ahead of a Colin Keister, but we would expect Michael Conti to start looking towards pit road in these next couple laps as the pit stop strategy, and there it is, coming down into pit road. The WR1 Sim Chassis Junior Motorsports number 8 has hit pit road for what will be his second green flag pit stop of the night. If this thing stays green, he'll be down one more time, but the 17 has the lead now, and it is Colin Keister.
So with Conti in there, pretty much committed now and are locked in to what we thought was going to be the 3-stop strategy. We'll likely see these cars back down pit road at about lap 150, but now we can focus on the battle amongst the 2-stoppers. I mentioned Keister was the net race leader, if you would, in that cycle, and of course the leader on this strategy, but it did just caution. There are more drivers than just him, and Brad Davies, who, interestingly enough, Tim, teammate to Conti, running opposite strategies, now the fastest car on track. He pitted 1 lap after Colin Keister did. The difference between first and second is 1 second.
And Brad Davies currently in the top 8 in points as well, having a great season. He is one of those drivers that won here back in 2010. He won the season finale here when this racetrack hosted the final race in 2010, the championship race. You should ride on board with Brad Davies down into corner number 1, currently running P2.
I think my favorite thing about this whole sim racing thing is those onboard shots, because again, this is really the only esport that replicates a real life sport where the drivers competing and the competitors obviously are doing the same action at home. And it's been fun, Tim, going on board with a couple of our drivers and Brad Davies there, just seeing how they are driving. I think I saw the tongue sticking out a little bit for Brad Davies as he is dialed in and trying to close in. You're also now watching a battle, third and fourth, Bull and Lusa. Some drivers talk a lot on the radio, some drivers silent, locked in. Everybody's got their own strategy.
And this battle here on your screen, looking behind, there's that driver that just came down pit road, Michael Conti, working his way back through traffic, so he'll be up here within a lap or so with these drivers battling for that 3rd place position, and there he goes on the outside at a corner number 4.
Once you see Lusa tucked in line behind all of this, and one of the drivers that was strong very early on, but is kind of fallen back into the mix. You have the likes of Leahy and others, but there they are. So that's Logan Clampett on the right-hand side, top left, Keegan Leahy, bottom left, Graham Boland. We've got a handful of drivers. Of course, not Graham Boland, I should say, but Phil Diaz throughout the field. And very nice of them is, look at them up and on the wheel. Clampett's typing and chatting as he's on track as well. Like I said, everybody's got their own approach.
And the cool thing about it, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier, is we see Keegan Leahy go to the inside of Ray Alfala. Drivers are racing from all around the world in this series. You saw Logan Clampett from California and Keegan Leahy from Nova Scotia. So opposite ends of North America going at it on this racetrack with 32 just making that pass. He's going to move up to position number 6 as he continues to try to march towards the top 5. And now Ray Alfala has his hands full in behind with Bob Bryant, but not going to be a battle because Bob Bryant was just down on pit road. He's working his way through on the fresh tires.
Yeah, the cars who just came down to the pit lane, Conti as well as Clampett, who you were just on board with, Bryant, Crowder, and Busa. It's really just those 5 opted to go for the additional pit stop and to go on the 3-stopper instead of the 2. And Tim, you had mentioned earlier that most drivers were kind of convinced that it may not be working on a 2, and we thought that early yellow may not have been a factor, but I'm curious how much that may have swayed some of these opinions.
I also think, too, that these guys are anticipating a late race caution. We've seen some of these races play out where we get a pit cycle or a pit cycle and a half, and then that yellow flag comes out. Somebody misses their mark coming onto pit road, spins it out. We almost saw it a couple of weeks ago with Zach Novak at Dover coming onto pit road and just missing his mark, coming onto pit lane and trying to get it woed down as Bob Bryant makes his way past this battle for position number 3. I almost anticipate there being another yellow flag here, and I don't want to say it. I don't want to really jinx us, but the cleanest race that we've had here at Charlotte, Evan, was only 3 cautions, and that was back, I believe, in 2015. So it's been a while since we've seen a clean race play out, but we're already in the second half of this deal. 87 laps to go. These guys are putting on a show.
As long as you're broadcasting from home with a wooden desk and you can knock on it, you can say whatever you want about the pit strategy. So it's on you. As long as we're clear about that, if anybody has issues, you can send your requests to Tim Terry. As we watch this battle, Lusa still hounding the 18 of Bolin for 3rd and 4th. And of course, these drivers, same strategy as 1-2, Keister and Davies, but they're not really gaining on the cars up front. I think the battle has a part to do with that, but as well, these drivers basically equal tires with everybody else's. There's the 4-time champ, Ray Alfala, just getting passed by Cory Vincent. They swap P7 and 8.
We'll see if Cory Vincent can pick up a couple of more positions before he comes down onto pit road. Got about a second or so up the road to catch Keegan Leahy. Garrett Lowe has made his way back up into the top 5, was strong on the second run as we get ready to ride on board with a driver that's well within the top 5. And I think a guy that might be saving a little bit. Let's ride on board in this battle for 3rd. You're riding with Ryan Lusa in position number 4.
They're working to get this thing done in record time. Haven't even had an opportunity, I should say, to turn the virtual lights on yet as we continue to race into the evening here for the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. Currently in between pit cycles as we're expecting the drivers on the two-stopper, Tim, in anywhere from, I think, 15 to 20 laps or so from now, and kind of split that difference and prime them up for a run to the end. You see the 88 of Davies, who is still faster than Keister, but it is by less and less each lap. The battle between 1-2, still 0.8 of a second apart. This battle for P3, I think, the most convincing.
You talk about playing it back a little bit. If we get to lap 130, that puts us with 70 laps to go until we hit the end of the race. So I would assume that pit window probably opens in 10 laps, but probably around 15 to 20, as you mentioned. Those guys coming down on the pit road for what would be the final stop in the two-stop strategy. Lights are coming up. Sparks are beginning to fly here. It's a night race at Charlotte. Look at this battle, though. Graham Bolin sitting in 3rd. Ryan Lusa seems to be buckled in that battle for position number 3. Content to ride there right now, not really pushing the issue. Maybe just trying to save a little bit here as he gets ready to come down to pit road here in about that 10 to 12 lap mark.
And now there's something I think that Davies and Lusa may be contemplating here, kind of the second car in each of their battles, and that is, do you come to pit road a little bit earlier, thinking that you're on just about equal tires with everybody else to get that quick advantage, get back out there and maybe go for the overtake on the pit cycle. You're looking at the number 10 machine of Justin Bolton in the Busch delivery for the Stewart-Haas Esports car. You can see currently running the best he has all night after starting in P29. He's up in 11th spot right now in the tire tracks of Malik Ray further up the road, Ray Alfala, and he's running ahead of Jake Nichols in 12th. A lot of big movers in this group, though. Alfala, Ray, Bolton, and Nichols, plus 15, plus 4, plus 18, and plus 20. They have all been doing work.
And this is a home race for Justin Bolton as well. He works at Stewart-Haas Racing just up the road in Kannapolis. So this is a home racetrack for him, a home racetrack for his team. So he wants to do well here as you ride on board with Jake Nichols. And mention him in behind that battle. He's trying to close in on that Busch delivery number 10, that Mode Motorsports number 24. Trying to get himself at least a top 10 run. And look at that focus he's got going down to the corner.
And he seems concerned as well, and maybe that's because I called him Phil Diaz a bit earlier on, but he's doing a good job right now in position number 12, and does have a bit of a gap back up to those cars in front. Of course, you can see visibly from the onboards that we saw earlier how this track has changed. There is no longer that sun down in 3 and 4. The track temps and, of course, the weather temps dropping. That is affecting the iRacing dynamic track, and the cooler it gets, in theory, the more grip you're going to have. That combined with the rubber that's being laid down, these cars should be driving pretty good. I guess when you're 48 laps into a run, you can only drive so well. Now on board with the 10 of Bolton, he's looking to get around the 2 of Alfala, and he'll follow Malik Ray through.
You can only drive so well for so long as you ride on board with that battle, and now side by side, the 2 of Alfala to the upside of the 10 of Justin Bolton, Malik Ray also there, Jake Nichols closing in. Great battle here around the top 10 positions as you start to get to that point now where you think about that final pit stop, contemplating what you're going to do. This is the point of the race where this track is changing as well. There's so many nuances into this race playing out in the second half with only 75 laps to go.
Well, for somebody who was down in 37th position, not that bad for Ray Alfala, of course, in that VRS Chevy, one of the many drivers who did team changes over the offseason, joining that Team VRS, one of the new teams at the championship this year, along with Denny Hamlin Racing, Stuart Haas Esports, and William Byron Esports, as the 24 machine of Nichols just made the move on Alfala for 11th and 12th position. These drivers looking at about 73 laps to go, so I think still 10 away from that magic fuel number. And of course, the concern, if you're on this strategy or the other one, Tim, is obviously if a yellow were to come out now, it would benefit these drivers, it would hurt the 3 stoppers. But if a yellow were to come after the pit cycle for these cars, it would benefit the 3 stoppers and hurt these cars. So there really is no safe strategy when you have a decent amount of cars going off strategy and basically 2 legitimate options.
If I look at Michael Conti, I'm kind of concerned about somebody missing their marks coming onto pit road and triggering a yellow flag, because Michael Conti right now sitting back in 22nd or so and continuing to make some passes. The next up on his list would be Brandon Cattell right ahead of him, and so he's making his way through. But if a caution were to fall right now, everybody would come onto pit road to get service. He would be stuck around 20th place or so. So Michael Conti wants this to play out, wants to get everybody onto pit road, or as many as he can in front of him, down onto pit road to get service if a caution flag does fly. And obviously 3-stop strategy. He wants this thing to play out to the end because he feels and his crew feels like they have the winning setup and they have the winning strategy in this 200-lap event. Just past Cattell's got a little ways to go up the road now, about 2 seconds or so to catch Kane Cook. It's about 15 seconds or so behind the leader.
So if you're on the 2 or the 3, everybody's still needing 1 more pit stop to go the distance here from Charlotte on a green flag run now that has stretched more than 115 laps wrong. It is Colin Keister in front of the field as we close in on the final cycle of pit stops up front. You're watching the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series Coca-Cola 300.
I am the force behind the brave men and women who love this country so dearly, they go into harm's way to defend it.
For those serving far from home, I am the force that makes sure home has their back.
I am the force behind all who serve, connecting them to every comfort of family, home, and country possible.
We are the force.
We are the force.
We are the force behind the forces.
Visit uso.org/force to learn how you can be the force behind the forces.
Coverage of tonight's Coca-Cola 300 is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. And by Asus, an official gaming hardware partner of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. Looking high and above the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway as the fight for third on back continues, and so does the waiting game as we welcome you back into the booth. Evan Pasoko and Tim Terry with you, and we are waiting to Colin DeKeister, Graham Bolin, and Garrett Lowe and friends on back to come to the pit lane. As we see this battle continue to cycle through, there it is, Garrett Lowe completing now that pass for P2 in his virtual Wood Brothers Ford.
Garrett Lowe, Ryan Luza, two drivers really strong at the end of the run. They've got the long run mentality locked in, and Garrett Lowe just took position number 2. Ryan Luza running in position number 4, trying to track down Graham Bolin. Brad Davies right in behind him, and you can take a look at where your favorite driver is running here with 65 to go. Take a look at the pit stop numbers. Michael Conti once again creeping into the top 20, into 16th place right now. We anticipate all these drivers will have to make at least one more stop before this thing is all said and done. Now Justin Bolton hops up to the top there, or hops up onto the top end of that with the 136 number on his last pit stop.
Well, you saw some names as well pop up with 136 as here we go down pit road. Oh, the 21 car, Bolin, they almost get into it as Lowe and Bolin a bit together. Brad Davies follows them down as well. Eric Smith, pit road, Michael Guerrilla, more drivers diving in. You got to think the 17's coming soon.
And you got to believe the 8 car of Michael Conti starting to lick his chops a little bit as he moves up that scoring pile on the 17 of Colin Keister. Should be down pit road, you would think this time by, and indeed he will be. He's going to lock it down onto pit road, get it down to that pit road speed, and looks good on the entrance of pit road. Evan, he'll come down to the attention of his crew as Ryan Luza stays out on the racetrack to lead a lap here. He'll complete 138 on the racetrack.
And thinking for Luza, maybe you can afford to stay an extra lap or two as all those cars completing service leave, but Keister kind of forced to come in because he had the target on his back. Everybody behind him in the top 5 went for the undercut, and he may not maintain after this cycle as here comes Luza in from the net race late at all of this. That'll hand things off to the number 8 of Michael Conti, who still needs to come to pit road. Likely not going to see that for another 10 to 15 laps on the 3-stop strategy, but it is now his turn to lead some laps.
He goes about 50 laps or so, maybe a little bit more, so we would expect him down here. You mentioned 15, 20 laps for that final stop as Ray Alfala works to the outside on those new tires. Justin Bolton coming up now and looking at the net lead. Logan Clampett in second place, Brandon Cattell in third for the overall. Those drivers will likely have to make one more stop, and Brandon Cattell should be down momentarily if he hasn't been already in that number 14 car. As we got 3 wide on the racetrack. Michael Conti holding his own right now as he falls back through. The middle gets a little bit tense sometimes.
That was a fun battle for Keegan Leahy and the number 66 Machida Yarltid, because that was for position as they split the 8 car 3 wide again as it's Kerwin trying to work through, and that number 8 Chevy's a handful in the old tires.
And look at the way he's trying to handle this car right now. He's slip sliding around on these old tires. He knows he has to hold on for another 15 laps or so, and he's getting past left, right, and center. And as we saw in one of those battles, stuck in the center as he comes off of corner number 2, and you can see how much that field in front of him pulls him down the straightaway and just pulls away. He's hanging on for dear life right now, but we've said it earlier, he's made the bed, he lays in it now, and he's buckled in for this strategy as he comes up at a corner number 4. He should be down here in the next 10, 15-ish laps. There's Brandon Cattell probably doing the same thing as he comes down onto pit road.
He is going to be in for service, and he is actually one of the drivers on that previous strategy call. So that now hands the top 4 positions to the drivers on the 3-stopper. Conti, Clampett, Bryant, and Crowder all down to the pit lane. About 40 laps to go. Busa, the 5th car on this strategy, but he's kind of back in traffic a little bit, not necessarily out with these drivers, I think, where he would like. He's running in position number 16. So now you look at the battle for the cars racing off of the pit lane. This may be the battle for the race win if that 3-stop strategy does not pay out. It is the 18 car leading it of Graham Bolin. That undercut clearly worked Tim, because a handful of drivers putting Colin Keister behind them. He's going to work around Bolin and the 21 Garrett Lowe, who undercut him successfully. That 17 car, though, driving hard in turn 2. He's got Luza, though, to his inside. Oh, they almost made contact at a turn 2. He went to the bottom just as Luza tried to pass him.
And when you look at this battle right now, that 53 of Ryan Luza, the up in front Garrett Lowe side by side, those are the two names that really stand out to me. You're right on board with Brad Davies. These two in front of Brad probably have the best long run mentality. They're able to stretch their tires for a little bit longer and get a little more good out of those race cars. But Brad Davies right now well in the mix of it, looking to become the first 2-time winner at Charlotte. Look at him dig to the inside.
Trying to get a nose on the inside of the 21 Garrett Lowe. This battle for P8 and 9, a bit of a bobble in 3, but he does make his way on through. Give it to Davies. Now a crossover. 21 Garrett Lowe to the bottom. Both of those Wood Brothers cars with some patriotic red, white, and blue schemes tonight, and running nice and close to the racetrack as well, as Lowe gets that spot. Next up would be his teammate Chris Overland. The 16, though, would not be for position. Chris having a rough night. Down into P number 33, and here's the big fight now. Ryan Luza just passed Graham Bolin on the inside in turn number 3, setting his sights up on the 17 of Colin Keister, who is once more the net leader on this strategy, but Luza's been real fast.
He's been real fast, especially when we get a few laps into this run, Evan. Colin Keister, though, has been so darn consistent. One of the best runs that we've seen all season out of this number 17 car, the 5th third bank Ford for Roush Fenway Gaming, and he's got that 53 closing in behind him, the Williams Esports Ford coming out of corner number 4, and we're going to have a battle on our hands for this position before it's all said and done. This is for position number 5 on the racetrack overall, as Michael Conti continues to lead by over 3 seconds over Logan Clampett, Bob Bryant, and Ashton Crowder. Then this battle for these drivers that are on the different pit strategy as they go down the back straightaway. Brad Davies keeps an eye on Garrett Lowe back there as well. It's go time. We're coming into the final quarter of the longest race of the season here for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
And it's a battle between two drivers in very different scenarios. For Luza, winner of the last 3 of the last 4, I should say. Of course, a series champion going up against the 17 machine of Colin Keister, who in this 2020 campaign is making his debut as a rookie. Nobody ever said it would be easy to get a win at the top level of NASCAR sim racing, but they weren't kidding. I guess you're going to have to get it done against the very best.
The great battle on your screen, the Rowdy Energy number 51 of Malik Ray closing in on the 32 for Denny Hamlin Racing. That is Keegan Leahy. The battle on your screen as they continue to duke it out for a top 10 position. Malik Ray back in 11th, trying to get up into the top 10. Eric Smith behind them as well, looking to pick up a couple of positions late in this one or closing in on those final few laps. And here's the other pit stop strategy being played out. That is Ashton Crowder down on pit road. Keep a half eye on that 8 car when Michael Conti decides to come down onto pit road. We are working 151 of 200.
Yeah, they've about hit that magic number where your laps on the tires are the laps to go, so Conti in as well. He gives up the race lead. Clampett way overcooked the tires, and he may have a speeding penalty. Bob Bryant in as well. So just like that, in the blink of an eye, the cars on the 3-stop strategy are done with service for the night. They're going to somehow have to hope that the fresh tires they get now is going to make up for all the track position they are throwing away, because we have handed the keys to the kingdom back to Colin Keister. It is his race now, coming to 48 laps to go. No more pit stops needed, and one of the best in the business, 3 car lengths behind him in Ryan Luza.
I'm really intrigued to see the pace that Logan Clampett, Ashton Crowder, Bob Bryant, and the 8 of Michael Conti can do here as you ride on board with Ryan Luza. Luza, Keister, Lowe have been able to really conserve their tires and really have a long run mentality on their race cars. Michael Conti and those drivers that just came off of pit road, Evan, might have to burn it up a little bit trying to get back through traffic and make up that time lost as they just came off of pit road. Interesting strategy going forward, but now it's not all about pit stops. It's about the battle, what you can pick up in these final 50 laps, and Ryan Luza looking to pick up the lead here.
Thought that last time at turn 2 when he got to within about a half a car length that maybe that's what it was going to happen. Of course, the way that these cars race with the low horsepower and high downforce, drafting obviously a big factor, and looked like he was sucking up to the back end, but now they space back out by about 3 car lengths, and it's tricky here for Colin Keister, Tim. He wants to get that win so badly, but he needs to make sure he keeps a cool head. And listen, just because you're a rookie in this series doesn't mean that you're not experienced. As Michael Conti from a lap down, going to blow by them, he somehow is going to have to unlap them right here, and he's going to have to be a whole lap faster than them over the next 45 laps and catch back up for his pit strategy to work. But of course, Colin Keister has been in a lot of these pressure-packed situations before, through the Pro Series, through other major events on iRacing, but he needs to make sure he does not overdrive it just because Luza is all over him. As here's another driver with fresh tires. It's Logan Clampett. He's blowing past the battle for P3. Well, Tim, when you think of speed, you tend to think of fine, refined, smooth movements, but that was not what was going on behind the wheel of the 99.
No, he had his hands completely full as he tries to drive his way through traffic, back onto the lead lap, and hopefully back into at least what would be a top 10 run, currently scored outside of the top 20. One of the last cars scored in the lead lap, and actually last time by scored as position number 30. So Logan Clampett and those drivers on the 3-stop strategy have some work to do as the leaders will come by and put a lap on Santi Tires in the track pass number 4 and put him in the rearview mirror. Colin Keister continues to lead. You mentioned these races are hard to win. They're even harder to win when you got a guy behind you that has dominated the last few years, a former champion of this series. You better believe the pressure is on for Colin Keister.
And you talk about setting the bar as a rookie. Luza won the championship in his first year in competition back in 2017. That season, he won 5 of the 16 races on the calendar. That battle for third still continues. Graham Boland's got it. Brad Davies wants it. And Garrett Lowe in tow, who has been one of, I think, the best surprises this year, is running P5. So the 2-way battle for the lead left-hand side and a 3-way fight for third on the right.
When you look at the 21 of Garrett Lowe, I'm kind of surprised that his race pace isn't as quick as Ryan Luza's. We've seen both of them have really good long-run speed, but there's about 2 seconds or so in between them. Maybe he's saving a little more than we think, but right now running in position number 5 behind this battle. Garrett Lowe trying to get up here and have a shot at a win. He's got a couple of top 5 finishes so far this year, looking to get one more and move himself a little bit closer to the top of the points graphic as the 77 of Ashton Crowder goes by. Oh, hello, we might see 3 wide here.
It's the 77 trying to squeeze through the middle. Davies in company as they all work around. Santiago Tires in the number 4 car, 2 laps down in P36 for Letarte Esports. So he gets lapped up there, and somehow we get through that without any sort of big moment. And these lead lap cars able to safely navigate the lead gray down, but up to the inside. In fact, that's Leahy actually back in 3 around the traffic as well. So pressure cooked situations here, not only for the race lead, but for third down through P6. This full car battle that we look at on the racetrack right now and everywhere else, because now again that Conti and friends have completed their pit stop. They're good to go the distance. He's the leader on the 3-stop strategy, but he is 24th and 21 seconds back. Conti needing at least a half a second per lap if he wants to catch up to the race lead. I just don't see that happening, Tim, but everybody, as it stands, good to go the distance. This is the home stretch.
I think at this point, if you're Michael Conti, you have to drive the wheels off it and get as much good as you can, because, you know, late caution flag decides to fly. Everybody's coming down on the pit road, so get as much strategy as you can get before this thing sees a checkered flag. Down the back straightaway, the battle between first and second as they have the 77 of Crowder trying to get back on the lead lap. The battle in between has been kind of equidistant. The second battler, the second pack, is kind of kept about 2 seconds behind as Crowder almost runs out of room coming off of corner number 4. This battle here has been about 2 seconds or so, give or take a couple of tenths behind the battle for the lead, and they get side by side. I think Garrett Lowe has kind of pulled the pin. He's moved up one more position past Brad Davies. That's for 4th. He'll look at the car in front of him and Graham Boland for position number 3, and then we'll see if he can make any inroads to those drivers in front of him. Here comes Keegan Leahy.
Leahy looking at the bottom, back end, steps out a little bit sideways, so the number 32 machine going to drop back just a little bit. He'll hit the reset button, and we're going to get that Direct Force Pro Toyota Camry back up and into the mix, but the one on the charge is Low. On the low side, he is on through, and Graham Boland going to lose 2 spots in 1 quarter. He'll drop down to P5. It is Low to 3rd, and Davies following him for P4. Keep in mind, they are only about 2 seconds and change off of the race lead, Tim, but I don't see this group catching those top 2 if it stays green. So I think the battle for first and second and the battle third on back, very much separate.
And for the most part, beyond that battle, there's a couple of 2-car, couple of 3-car battles, but we don't really have a whole lot of pack racing besides that battle that we see behind our leaders within the top 10 as Ryan Luza continues to keep Colin Keister honest up in front. They work through corners number 3 and 4. They'll come by this time to complete 167 on the racetrack. Keister trying to close in on that first victory. Ryan Luza trying to close in and pad that first place point advantage when it comes to the championship standings. What a great battle. You're right on board here with Keegan Leahy, one of the faster cars in the long run as well, as he comes up at a corner number 2. Let's see what he can do here down the back straightaway.
These drivers are being demanded to stay perfect every single time around. That time, 30 laps to go. The battle first and second. No more separation than the last time we saw it. In fact, you could kind of see some of it of the onboards in that battle for third. Luza gets into about a car length or a half a car length, drops back to 2 or 3 back. Rinse, wash, repeat. He is doing everything he can to get up on Colin Keister, Tim. I don't think this is a case where Luza's going to sit back and wait. I think he sees an opening. He goes for it.
but I don't think at this point he's going to force the issue. You look back to Ryan Luza. Colin has had a really good run so far this evening. He's been consistent and solid in speed, but I don't think Ryan Luza, at least with 30 laps to go, 29 laps to go, really forces the issue right now. If a hole opens, yes, he makes his way through as they come up on some lap traffic, but I don't think Ryan Luza gets up there and tries to get him arrow loose and tries to force it. I think you kind of wait right now. At the end of the day, we pay the checkered flag to the driver that leads lap 200 and the little bit of prize money that we do have in these races. So it doesn't pay right now to make that move for the lead with 28 laps to go. I think you kind of got to wait. We know how good Ryan Luza is on the very long run.
Lap pick up the road at Alex Mccallum. He is, or was now, the last car on the lead lap in P31. So there are going to be 30 drivers left on the lead lap in this one. Keister still the rookie versus a past series champion, arguably the best driver this year, leading the points. And he continues to try to chase him in, but loses, dropping it back just a little bit as we continue to watch the battle for the race lead. And Keister, I'll tell you what, Tim, right after this pit cycle, when we got inside of 50 laps to go and Luza was there a little bit better after he did again to undercut the 17, get fresh tires sooner than he got the time. And I thought that Ryan Luza was in the catbird seat, but Keister continues to impress, and he's actually been able to open up the biggest we've seen in some time. It's about 6 between those two, as Brad Davies with unfinished bits still trying to put the moves 21 in front of him. It's Garrett Lowe in third.
That focus that Brad Davies has right now. He saw that 21 of Garrett Lowe kind of get on the apron, Evan, kind of flirt with it a little bit, went up the hill. Looking at that onboard, though, the leaders are only 2.5 seconds in front of them. That's really where they've been ahead of this battle for position number 3 for about the last 20 laps or so. But as the laps click off, that 2.5 seconds seems like an absolute eternity. Just behind them, Keegan Leahy and the 18 of Graham Boland as you ride on board with Keegan Leahy down the back.
You can see, looking to the inside of traffic, Mccallum going to be a small road bump in this. Of course, your concern is, yes, those lapped cars going to do everything they can to get up and out of the way and not be a factor. But, of course, he had to modify his driving line just a little bit. He'll lose some time. Lowe and Davies up the road, and it allows Graham Boland to stay camped out on his back bumper. Vincent, Smith, Bolton, Kerwin, the rest of your top 10. There's the onboard with the driver of the number 18 machine looking up towards Keegan Leahy. This time by 20 laps to go.
Keep an eye on that battle up in front of him. You have that battle as he gives us a little bit of a wave off of corner number 4 and a little bit of a smile. Graham Boland still has a little bit of time to crack that smile, but right back to business as Boland chases down Keegan Leahy. He's had a great season so far, looking to pick up a couple of points here and pick up some insurance on that top 8 bubble. Evan just wanted to keep an update on Michael Conti. Conti's tires, compared to the leader, the lap times have kind of distanced out a little bit as you ride on board with Logan Clampett. He's still about a tenth faster or so than the leaders within traffic, but he's still in the top 18 as Logan Clampett takes a little look over, looks back at the screen, and focuses back in. He's one of those drivers that's on that strategy like Conti.
He's the second driver on that strategy, back into position number 21, so trying to get up and onto the move, and you can see him as well, kind of stretching the fingers, chatting, and there's a look now with Nichols. Jake Nichols in the number 15 spot. He's up 17 from where he started. Seems pretty calm, cool, and collected. About 13 seconds off of the battle for the race lead. The next car behind him, not for 2 seconds out the back end, and John Gorlinski, so he is relatively unchallenged in these final closing laps. And as we continue to kind of look at some of these drivers, it is Colin Keister out in front now by 0.7 of a second. Ryan Luza has really started to fall off in the last half a dozen laps. Luza hounded him since we got through that final cycle of pit stops, as the battle is on behind between Leahy and Bolin for P5, but Keister looking good out in front.
In a side-by-side battle, the 18 of Bolin works to the inside of the 32 of Keegan Leahy. Battle for position number 5 down the back straightaway. That battle up the road a little bit. The battle for position number 3 continues to heat up, and they haven't lost a whole lot of time on the leader. I think Ryan Luza's kind of laid back a little bit, maybe saving a little bit, knowing that this race may very well go green to lap 200. I think he might be saving a little bit. I don't think Paulin's really picked up the pace, but look at this. You ride on board with both of these drivers side by side down through 1 and 2.
And Bolin actually dipping the left side tires down and onto that white and blue line on the inside of 1 and 2, doing everything he can. Lapped cars ahead. They'll dive to the apron, give some space. As the 32 of Leahy, both these drivers up and on it. Bolin not going to go away. It'll continue to 15 laps to go.
Leahy to the upside, and you can see that laser focus down there. Graham Bolin having to work that wheel to the inside line to keep it off Keegan Leahy and try to get that run off the corner, but Leahy on that outside going to get that sweeping run off of turn number 2, going to take that position, and Graham Bolin going to fight back on corner entry. Continues to be side by side your battle for position number 5 with 15 laps to go.
And really no advantage inside or outside the last few laps. They're going to be 2 by 2 here throughout. Could this go the distance? Bolin again still drops back a little bit that time in 1 and 2. Leahy's going to have the run though off of the corner here at Charlotte. The 24 degrees of banking to rocket down the back straightaway, and it does it for him. Keegan Leahy makes the pass. He takes P5, but for how long? Because Bolin looked for the counter, can't do it as Leahy shuts the door.
I don't think it's done, Evan. I think the 18 of Graham Bolin, oh, hello, going to get that back down to the inside. That's not going to help that little scrape down into corner number 1. But I think Keegan Leahy has a little bit of a faster car, had to work for that position, and now he has to work again as Graham Bolin goes to the inside. The great thing is, for those drivers in front of them, they are pulling away from this battle for position number 5. What was a battle for third for the longest while on this green flag run, Evan, is now 2 battles. It's a battle for position number 3 and a battle for position number 5. And if you're Keegan Leahy, you're just wondering why Graham Bolin won't go away right now. What a battle.
Yeah, you have to give some kudos to Graham here for being persistent, continuing to drive down to the bottom, and as well for these drivers to keep this one clean. Of course, racing close to one another at 160 miles an hour in the corners, and top it off at about 185 on the straightaways. A little bit of a movement up or down can cause chaos. Look at Graham there basically pushing Keegan Leahy down the front straightaway, and now back off it into turn number 1. They seem content though with their respective lines, and that is Bolin inside, Leahy up top.
And we saw a little bit of it. There it is right there. The Renegades 27 is the next driver to catch this battle. That is Cory Vincent as you ride on board again with Graham Bolin. If they continue to do this, it's going to close in Cory Vincent, and Cory Vincent may get himself a top 5 run out of this race. 10 laps remaining, and Colin Keister up front continues to inch away from Ryan Luza. And in fact, if Garrett Lowe, see that battle in front of them right there, that white car, and Brad Davies in behind, if they continue to do that, they might catch Ryan Luza for second.
And somebody else that we talked about earlier tonight is Cory Vincent, who started 18th. We talked about his race win from Indianapolis Motor Speedway last year. He rides P7, up a handful from where he started, plus 11. He's been doing a real good job spearheading that effort for the Renegades.
Absolutely, he is. And look at this battle here for position number 3, which could be a battle for position number 2, depending on how far Ryan Luza falls back off the leader, Colin Keister. Fell off about a tenth of a second that time. These drivers here are catching that second place driver. I don't know if they're going to get there before the checkered flag falls, but you've got the 88 of Brad Davies looking for another solid top 5 run, currently in 4th. He wants to get on the podium. He's got Garrett Lowe in front of him. Garrett Lowe, another one of those drivers that knows this racetrack, has run the summer shootout, albeit on the quarter mile. It looks like he wants the home race to finish well, currently in position number 3 and closing in on Ryan Luza.
We talked off at the very top as we continue to monitor this battle for 3rd, but as well paid recognition to Colin Keister up front. Said that this race has been on the calendar every single season, twice in the opening year of 2010 and in 11 different trips to Charlotte Motor Speedway. We have never seen a repeat winner, and we have seen a handful of first-timers. And while we fight on the right and on the bottom left, it is the man top left corner, the rookie Colin Keister, who this time by going to be 6 laps away from career win number 1.
This racetrack has given some opportunity to some of these drivers. Guys like Joey Brown, Danny Hansen, and Nick Shelton have won their first race of their career here, looking to add one more to that list. And you pretty much got the top 5 here on your screen, except for Ryan Luza, who's just ahead of that battle on the lower left between Garrett Lowe and Brad Davies. Davies, what a run. Out of corner number 2, got right up to the back bumper of the 21. Nothing doing there, and they are within about a half second of Ryan Luza. There he is on your screen.
And in all honesty, I said earlier that I didn't think that battle 3rd on 4th was going to get up to the race lane, and it didn't, but Luza actually volleyed back towards that fight. Not that far ahead of the duo on the bottom left, the battle 3rd and 4th between the 21 of Garrett Lowe and the 88 of Brad Davies. They may catch that number 53 machine before this race is done, so maybe Luza run it out, maybe burned up those tires, hounding that 17 of Keister. It was funny, Tim, we talked about Keister burning up the equipment when he was challenged by Luza. I think it was the opposite that happened.
And I'm kind of surprised with the way the first 2 runs really ran out. Garrett Lowe, though, he's had that long run speed. He continues to have it, but I think he's going to run at a time. The sand's going to run out of that hourglass. 4 laps to go, 3.5 down the back straightaway. Small little footnote, Michael Conti, 3-stop strategy, only got him to 16th place. I don't think he's going to get to 15th before this is all done. Look at this. Brad Davies closing in, not only on Garrett Lowe, but Ryan Luza is up there with only 3 to go.
And that'll be a zero-sum game for Conti, considering he started this race at 15th, so he doesn't really lose much. But again, that opportunity cost of what if I had gone for the different strategy. Your race leader, though, in traffic now, Colin Keister, with the biggest handful of laps in his sim racing career, gets around the 37 at Challenger. He's going to have to navigate Crowder and maybe Steve Sheehan still, as he sees the popsicle sink to the air. It is 2 laps to go. All he needs is to get to the white flag, as Lowe and Davies have caught Luza in a fight for second.
And Luza is going to have to play defense here. Garrett Lowe gets that run off of corner number 2, flashes the nose of the Ford to the inside. We've got a battle for the runner-up position and podium positions on our hands. Brad Davies, where does he go? The leader, Colin Keister, about to take the white flag. Final lap to try to get a 4th first-time winner here in the Queen City. White flag.
Luza stuck up top. Garrett Lowe going to go on through. Brad Davies wants it as well. Luza may fall to P4 before this one's said and done. They are leaning on each other for position 3. But out in front of them, it is Colin Keister, clear by more than 2 seconds. He'll become the 52nd different driver to ever do it. Rookie Colin Keister at a turn 4, first career win in the Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Keister gets the Coca-Cola 300.
And at the end, Brad Davies had a run-in with, I believe, one of the lap cars, maybe. he was going to finish in the top 5, and oh man, Brad Davies going to come home with position number 7, and that car is disabled in the AstroTurf on the front straightaway. So while Colin Keister was gliding to his first win, Evan, the action in behind him, and oh, by the way, the cleanest race in Charlotte in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series in history. 1 caution, the previous record was 3.
Let's get a second look with what happened with Brad Davies, of course, was in that battle with Luza for third. Luza cleared him. There it is at a turn 2. And watch what happens in 4, Tim. I think he just drives it in super hard on the bottom, tried to force the issue, and you'll see lap traffic there slow up ahead as he tries to get to the inside. He gets loose right when there's a car on the bottom. There's nothing wrong there that I think Chris Overland did, but Davies got sideways digging for it, and he is lucky that he made it to the end only because he got wiped out by the 47. If he didn't get hit, he would not have made it to the stripe. Davies will settle for a P7 as Colin Keister celebrates on the front straightaway. This winning moment is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR.
12th race here at Charlotte on the oval, 12th different winner, and the 4th first-time winner here at this racetrack, joining Joey Brown, Danny Hansen, and Nick Shelton. And it's going to give him a little bit of a boost when it comes to the point standings, because he needs it after the last couple of races that he's had.
Let's look at your top 10 results tonight. The final margin of victory, 2.4 seconds over Garrett Lowe, of course, Luza in third. So the beneficiary of the issues with Davies is Boland up to 4th, Leahy up to 5th, and Cory Vincent with a P6. Davies fell to 7th. Eric Smith, Justin Bolton, Casey Kerwin, your top 10.
And you look on the second page, you got Malik Ray just outside of the top 10, Bobby Zielinski, Michael Guerrilla, Jake Nichols, Ray Alfala, Michael Conti on that 3-stop strategy comes home in 16th, Logan Clampett on that same strategy in 20th, and in between them, Jimmy Mullis, Nathan Lyon, and John Gorlinski.
And continuing on through your top 28 finished on the lead lap, and it'll include some drivers who started up front. Kane Cook, Chris Sherbert, Michael Cassidy, Jarl Tien were all top 10 cars at the start of the night. The final driver on the lead lap is Steve Sheehan with Jeremy Allen through P30.
And the remaining drivers that started this race, Alex Mccallum had a great qualifying effort, going to finish 1 lap down. Blake Reynolds, Dylan Duval involved in that first caution and not really a whole lot of time to gain what he lost on that first run. Matt Busa, Zach Novak getting in a little bit of contact early, finishing in P35. Chris Overland, Phil Diaz, Santi Tierez, Nick Ottinger, the winner from 2 weeks ago, finishing 39th, and Brian Schoenberg, the only driver out of this race, in 40th.
And I know it's not how he wanted it to go, but a shout out to Brian Schoenberg, who made his 150th career start in this series tonight. That is 3rd on the all-time list. Let's talk, though, with tonight's race winner. It is the driver of the number 17, 5th Third Bank Ford for Roush Fedway Racing, and a first-time winner in the Coke Series. Colin Keister gets it done tonight at Charlotte. Colin, first off, congratulations, man, and welcome to Victory Lane.
Hang on. I don't have any audio.
We can hear Colin there, but he can't hear us, so we'll give him 2 seconds to get that worked out. And Tim was probably too busy fist pumping and celebrating to make sure the wires were all plugged in correctly.
Yeah, definitely happy. You can see him there with that little bit of a smile on his face, and excited to see what he has to say after coming to Victory Lane at Charlotte, one of the marquee races on the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, and producing a different winner.
Well, let's try that again on the radio with the driver of the number 17 machine, who's a first-time winner in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Colin, congratulations.
Thank you. That was awesome.
To talk us through this one, you start P8 and we get an early caution flag, and I'm sure most folks weren't thinking that this thing was going to go 190 laps green to the end, but it did. You guys opting to go for the 2-stop strategy was the right decision. Just tell us how that whole process came together for you.
Yeah, that was our plan before the race started. If it went green all the way, we were going to do the 2-stop strategy. We figured that'd be faster, and we got that. I actually got mired back in traffic because my pit stop messed that up, and I had to drive from 18th and beginning of those runs, I was kind of out of control, loose, but it helped in the long run, that's for sure.
Of course, to have to go head-to-head, looking for your first win with Ryan Luza, who has been one of the best drivers of the last 4 seasons, plastered on your bumper from 50 to go till probably 15 to go, but in the end, you were able to stretch it out on him. What was that battle like after the final cycle?
Yeah, that was crazy. I thought he was saving tires there behind me, but I was able to pull away there at the end. We were really close for a while, but I was able to drive away with about 30 to go and just kept on going.
It's a long road just to get to this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. There is no guarantee that the drivers that make it into this championship get to victory lane, but you have that first career win. You are the 52nd different driver to do so. What does this mean for you?
It's awesome. I've been wanting to be in this series for a while and finally got here, and it's huge to get my first win. I'm super excited.
We greatly appreciate you giving us the time to chat, Colin. Congratulations on the win. And we talk about drivers who have been impressive. Colin DeKeister is a first-time winner. Tim and Garrett Lowe is second in this one. You're chatting with him.
As Garrett Lowe knows this racetrack, but he knows the quarter mile more than he does the mile and a half. And Garrett, lower your camera a little bit there as we get ready to chat with you. Let's talk about this race. You had a long run set up, it seemed like. What else did you need at the end of that race to get up to Colin Keister?
Just need a little bit more, a little bit of draft, I think, would have helped us out there on the long run. The 2 leaders, Ryan and Colin, got out there a little ways from us, and we weren't quite able to keep up with them. I was having to hold off Brad there behind me. He gave me a run for money, so good race to him, Ryan as well. We started back kind of in the middle of the pack and got stuck in traffic the first run, so that put us at a little bit of a disadvantage. We were able to work our way back up to the front, but a couple pit miscues kind of, I think, cost us a little bit of time. Overall, good night. Second, we'll definitely take it. Thanks to Wood Brothers, Spin, all these guys on FSR and the team that put these cars together every week.
Longest race of the season with 200 laps. A couple of weeks now down the road, we head to the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Similar racetrack to what we see here. You're in the top 8 in playoff points. What's the mindset and the mentality going into Atlanta?
I think it's more points racing at this point. Obviously, I'd like to get a win. I'd like to win tonight, of course, being a home race for me. But Atlanta's a second home track, so we'll try to go there and see if we can't grab a win. We've been so close all season. I think it's like 3rd or 4th runner-up finish. So we're there. We just have to finish one race off and park in victory lane.
Well, congratulations on the run tonight. 2nd place. Take another swig of that Coke. You deserve it here this evening. That is Garrett Lowe coming home in 2nd place. Evan, great run for him. And I know another driver that had a great run that may have used up a little more at the end than he wanted to, Ryan Luza.
Yeah, it was one of the biggest threats to fight with the 17 for the race win, and tonight it is a P3 for the driver of the 53 machine. Ryan, no surprise, you're fast again at another good result, but I think for a lot of that final run, we thought that you might have had something for the 17.
Yeah, I thought I did too, but for some reason, the last 10 laps or so of the run, we were just super, super tight. Missed the balance. I was trying to save behind them, but they had a lot more straightaway speed than us. So even with me being in this draft, I couldn't really save tires. So I was driving really hard just to keep up with them. And then Garrett and Brad ended up coming real fast since I wasn't able to save any tire. But they were really, really fast. Colin deserved the win. I'm just glad we brought home the top 3. That was really, really close with Davies there at the end.
Obviously, you would have liked these last 2 weeks to have ended in victory lane to kind of continue that streak. But still, I think the biggest thing that works in your favor is if you're not in victory lane, you're still a top 5 car. I mean, a lot of drivers can go to get a win, and then they're in the teens and the 20s. And you have been so consistent across now a handful of different racetracks. We're closing in on the halfway point of this regular season. How would you assess how 2020 has kicked off?
I mean, it's been great. Better than I could have imagined. With the exception of getting wrecked at California, we'd have all top 5s, I think. I don't really count Daytona, but if we didn't get wrecked at Cali, we'd have a huge points lead right now. And I mean, the wins are really important just for getting the 3 bonus points. Like if we grab more wins, that's really, really nice going into the chase. But other than that, just consistency is key. And all we really want to do is, keep running well so we have a cushion to make top 8.
Well, I got to ask you, we've seen everybody having a swig of Coke after the race here. Are you rocking the 2-liter behind you?
Yeah, there's a 2-liter sitting back there. My dad always wants to bring it in for me. But I got my little Nice cold one right here.
Well, there you go. Well, you deserve to take a swig of that, Ryan. We appreciate you chatting, and congrats on the top 3 finishes. That's a chat with Colin DeKeister, Garrett Lowe, and Ryan Luza, your top 3 finishers, Tim.
Yeah, an exciting race to finish this, exciting run to finish this off. One caution here this evening, Evan, when you look back at the trends, and we kind of thought about that at Dover as well, with the way that race played out. Very clean, lots of respect, and a lot of give for these drivers to get to the end of the race under green. Pat on the back to all of the 40 that competed here this evening. But congratulations to those top 3. They put on a show at the end, and Colin Keister becomes a first-time winner in this series. And you saw those guys swig some Coke. I'm out of Diet Coke right now, so we gotta get ready to finish this one off.
Well, it was a great Coca-Cola 300, and sticking with that theme, let's take a look at our Coca-Cola move of the race tonight for round number 7. And, of course, it was Colin DeKeister who headed off to victory lane, and this was the battle for the position after the pit cycle.
Right on board there, down into corner number 1, Graham Boland. There's another driver that we thought off at the start of this race that might have something for the win to factor into that equation, but still had a great run here this evening at Charlotte, but it was all Colin Keister. And driving away from Ryan Luza. Luza kept him honest for a number of laps, and just at the end used up a little bit, and Colin Keister drove away in that 5th third bank Ford for his first win. It puts Roush Fenway back in victory lane.
Started the night, Tim, talking about some of the smaller tracks we've been to. Bristol, Richmond, Dover 2 weeks ago. But it stays with that larger track theme through the next couple of weeks. We have tracks like Indianapolis and Michigan down the line. But this series will continue in 2 weeks' time for the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. That will be the halfway point of the regular season for round 8.
We've seen Atlanta play into some different racing, and especially with the tires that we have, Evan, we've seen some blowouts already this season. We're going to a racetrack that's abrasive. It's old. Man, I can't wait to see how that one plays out in a couple of weeks, especially with the way this played out here on the longer run. Tires are going to be more of a factor there than fuel. The pit strategy is going to be changing with a series that has had a lot of green flag racing. We head to Atlanta. Could be tough, but we'll see how they handle it.
And we hope everybody has a good Memorial Day weekend between now and the next time we're back again. Want to extend our thanks and appreciation to the members of our armed forces. Thank you for your service. And another thanks once more to the person who got it kicked off tonight, First Sergeant Chris Barnhart, for the command this evening, and all our men and women in uniform. That's one final look in from iRacing HQ just outside of Boston. And that is it for us here tonight from Charlotte. On behalf of our entire team at iRacing NASCAR and for the broadcast team tonight, for myself, Evan Pasoko, and Tim Terry, congratulations to Colin DeKeister, a first-time winner tonight in the Queen City. We're back, though, in 2 weeks' time on May the 26th for the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. That race and every race of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series can be found right here on the iRacing Esports Network at eNASCAR.com. Until next time, good night from Charlotte.